One of the new things I saw at the CHA show last January was called Shimmer Sheets. Now, they're by Elizabeth Craft. I didn't see them in their booth. I saw them at the Indigo Blue booth, which is a British company. So they came from the United States to England and back to the United States, and I'm just so excited to show them to you.
Shimmer sheets are just beautiful, and there's so many different things that you can do with them. We're going to show you lots of ways to use them.
Sound interesting?
Come
play with us. Okay, well, here's how they come, a couple of different presentations.
And they come in sample packs and in individual sheets. I'm going to show you this one. There are two different varieties. There is the Iris, which are these colors. The Iris sample pack has colors that are lighter, mostly lighter, and they have a white core. And they come in 10 sheets to each of the sample packs. They are 4-inch by 5-inch Mylar sheets.
Now the other sample pack are the Gemstones, and you can see how highly reflective they are and just how gorgeous they are. They do also have this kind of variegated color in them, which
it's marbled. It's marbled
it's
color.
Just gorgeous. So this is the Gemstone collection, and same thing, they're 4x5, there are 10 sheets inside this pack.
Right, with more of a mirror finish than the Iris. They're still really shiny, but
kind of more pastel-y.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we have 4 different colors of these packs of 3 sheets each. These 3 are gemstone colors. We have turquoise, amethyst, and fire opal, which you really cannot even appreciate when it's down flat. So fire opal, it's got lots of oranges and yellows, and looks in the camera like green, but here in front of me it looks a little bit more orange and reddish.
These are 5 by 12 inches, and like you said, there are 3 per
So
pack.
they'll go the length of a scrapbooking page, and those are the gemstones. And then we have one of the Iris in an individual pack. This is blue Iris in that pastel-y with that white core. The gemstone has a silver core.
Okay, now let's get to the goodies. This is an example of what I saw at the show. To take the sheets and to the Shimmer Sheets, and by the way, that's sheets with a Z,
right,
and to do heat embossing on them. And it's just an absolutely spectacular look.
Spectacular was the word that came to mind. This is one of the amethyst sheets. This is a longer sheet. This is not, so it's not from the sampler pack because it's a little bit longer. And this is the amethyst gemstone.
Okay, so you're going to show that.
I am going to show how to heat emboss on here. So it's like most other embossing, but there's a little bit of a hint to it. I'm going to use the perfect pouch before I stamp on it because it can be staticky if you don't, and I don't want it to stick to everything. So I'll use the perfect pouch, and then I'm going to, I've got from the, is it the butterfly stamp set?
This is, in fact, this is the one that was used.
Right,
so
for
as
the
you
card.
can see, that giant one.
So I'm going to ink it up with my Versamark. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it right about there. Looks good. And it's a little bit slippery, the Mylar, so you want to make sure you don't wiggle it around too much. And then I've got silver zing powder, which was used on the card. And you just go ahead and emboss it like any other. It's the main trick about this is how you heat it when you do heat it. So make sure that that's stuck on there well. I'll go ahead and move that off your way. Side. And with your heat gun, you want to, don't get real close with the heat gun because you can melt the Mylar pretty easily. So stay kind of away from it and take your time. Don't try to do it too quickly. I'm just going to heat it from a distance.
It's actually good you said that. I get very impatient when I'm heat embossing. Right. I want it to hurry up and do its magic.
Now you're going to find that it's going to buckle the Mylar just a little bit. Susan said that when she did this, what she did when she wanted to put it on the card afterwards, she used double-sided tape, or you can use an adhesive sheet to make sure that all of those little buckles sit down on your paper. I also find if you go a little bit on the back, it might help it to like go the other way. But you see, you do have to take your time. Normally, I'd be done embossing by now because I'd sort of get impatient and sit in one spot. But if you do
you
that
can't on this.
you don't want to on the Mylar unless you want it to buckle. So it's almost ready to go there.
Yeah.
But it does work. You just don't want to be too hasty. There we go.
Kind of does it in one fell swoop. There you go.
Yeah.
The magic happens.
And there we go.
So it did take just a couple more minutes.
Yeah, you have to be patient.
But look at that result. Just
result,
spectacular. And exactly to what Susan did. What I like also is that you can do large images and
right.
also very fine images.
Right,
So,
and there's just a little bit of the silver linen specialty paper around the edge. It's just beautiful.
and the inside was not done on this card. So just a great, and this is the feathers paper, just in
Right.
case you're wondering.
Beautiful.
Now, so that is heat embossing. So that's
Right.
kind of step one. Now we're going to go to step two, which is embossing folders.
Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't that just gorgeous?
Now let's see, that's the blue iris.
Okay.
The blue iris.
And this is the swirl frame. And so this has simply been embossed and then taking the surface
Right, the
ink pad,
surface ink pad.
which also ends with a Z, and just lightly going over. You're going to do that?
I'm not going to do it, but
Okay.
I'm going to show you a way of making sure you don't get anything on the center. So the surfaces ink pad was used just like it is. It was just, you go over those raised edges.
You could also use a stays on.
Right.
They have the same
Stays on
properties.
also. But I want to show you, here's a couple of things. Here's one, this was done on the turquoise gemstone. What you just saw was the blue iris.
Okay.
So after it was done, you can see that inking was done on the outside edges, but you don't see it on the center. Well, if you just go over the whole thing with your ink pad, it's going to hit in the center as well, which is actually a really cool look.
Yeah.
But if you don't want it to look like that, what Susan suggested was running through the embosser, white cardstock, cutting out that center label and laying it over the center,
So masking it.
masking it off so that then that center doesn't have any ink on it.
Good idea from our Susan. So just to, what I am really appreciating about these is that with the shimmer sheets, you don't need to do much else because
Right.
they're just kind of so spectacular on their own.
Right, they make your statement for you. These are dazzles,
right.
They're not stamped.
They're
It can
dazzles
be stamped, it could be embossed.
And flowers there.
Beautiful.
Now we have another look, and tell me what is going on here. This is, first of all, the Dandelion embossing folder.
And what has been done with this? Now let's see. The original piece used. I have to jog my memory. Oh yeah. Okay. The
You know, like we talked about yesterday.
the Dandelion embossing folder. You have the turquoise gemstone shimmer sheets that was run through the folder. So
But
you
wait,
have
that doesn't look
piece.
turquoise.
No, it doesn't, because it's been altered using Spectrum Noir refill inks.
Okay, this is the one that you're scared of doing, huh?
Well, after my last refill adventure, how wonderful. I do need the craft sheet,
Yes.
and I'm going to gather
Here we
my
go.
supplies. So
Okay.
we're going to use two refill inks. I have BP3 and PL3. I have my piece here ready to go. I have a blending tool.
And this is the one with the foam applicator.
Right.
It has the foam pieces that are
that
Velcroed
can be
on.
removed
Yeah.
and you can replace them. And I have rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. And I'll show you what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to get this ready.
You can also use the blending solution that goes with the alcohol inks. We just don't happen to carry it
we
anymore.
don't care. Right. So I'm going to put a little bit of the alcohol ink in here just so I can get to it easily. And I'm going to open the refill bottles.
And remember which hand is holding what.
Right, yeah. So that one's ready. This one's ready.
You know I say that out of affection.
I know. I'm loved, I know. Anyway, let's see. I think that Lene said she started by putting some of the alcohol ink on first.
Oh.
And she just kind of squished it around on the top of the bottle, but I don't want to get too much on there, so I'm going to just dab it on with a paintbrush or
So this is
find
allowed
another way.
to
You could
allow it
just-
to move a little bit easier.
Right. You could use
Okay.
an eyedropper to drop some of the, it's going to dilute this. If you don't, it's going to be too strong and it's going to overtake a little bit. Then you put a few drops on in different places. You can see like wherever the rubbing alcohol is, it's sort of moving around, so it's getting mixed in there.
So you're doing both of them on the same pad.
Right. Both colors. They're going to get mixed together. And let's see how that ends up looking. Then you just start pouncing it around. She says if it's really wet, it's going to be too much, so just sort of pounce it around. And I think as you go, there we go. We're turning it as we're going.
So twisting.
Twisting and turning and just moving it all over. You can also dilute it a little more with a little more alcohol if you want a different look, but that's really cool.
So you can get the color of the shimmer sheets, or you can change them, whichever you like.
Or you can change them.
But you're getting that iridescent quality still.
This changed it a lot. I want to see what happens if I add a little more rubbing alcohol, how much it dilutes it. Let me put that on there and see if you can kind of keep moving it around and getting more.
It's lifting some of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. It lifts a little. So that's a way of dyeing your shimmer sheet.
Okay, and there is a result. And if you wanted to, it looks like down here took a little bit of the ink pad.
Afterwards, she did use either the StazOn or the Surfaces ink pad on that raised surface.
And of course, those are dazzles in the center there. Mm-hmm. And just a little bit more on the inside of adding some additional dazzles, but that's a very pretty look. Okay, now we have an entirely different look here. And this is really kind of amazing to me because this card is using the flower corner embossing folder, but as we get in closer, I want you to see that corner. Look at all the layers, and I have to say, I've really not seen that done with an embossing folder before.
Right. So she did it on 2 different sheets, or actually several different sheets. I just have 2 here. I went ahead and embossed the turquoise gemstone,
which is the bottom one,
which
right?
is the base here, and then this is one of those pastel-looking iris ones she used the iris sampler sheet to get some of these different colors. I've got the blue one here. She used a purple one, a green one, and a pink one. So she embossed several of the different ones, and then she sanded them each individually. You're not seeing the entire embossed piece here. You're just seeing part of it, but for our purposes. And then she sanded the top with a sanding block, and so here's what happens. You start sanding, and this is the turquoise one. It comes from the gemstone set, and when you sand the gemstones, you get a silver core pop up. You see that?
Okay, yes.
You can see this might be a little.
It's very reflective, like it is with the color on it.
Right here, there you can really.
There you go.
There.
Yeah.
So you can see the silver core on all of the gemstones. They have that silver core, so that pops up. On the other pieces, on the iris shimmer sheets, when you sand it, it doesn't turn silver. It turns white.
Okay.
So she did that on each of them.
And then cut them out.
And then cut them out and foam tape them back on over.
So this is one piece. So all of the flowers, the big flowers and the little flowers, the leaves, because they're green, were on a different color.
Right. And the small flowers were on
pink.
You're
right. The small flowers. So it's just the 2 big ones together, the small ones individually, and the leaves individually.
Isn't it beautiful? She inked.
It's just gorgeous.
Yeah. She matched this. She matted the top of it by tracing around it and cutting the shape of the front of the card there.
She did the same thing on the other side. Let's back up for just a second. And something that we discovered is that the card could go this way, or, the card's not bad that way either. Maybe shift the little tag a bit.
I like right in the center of the flowers, if you can see, she used a whole bunch of little silver jewel dazzles right in the center of the flowers.
Can we get in any closer, John? He's shaking his head no. Okay, little tiny jewel dazzles. And then on the inside, she's done the same thing. You might be able to see them a little better.
Right, with just a little rectangle piece of that turquoise gemstone shimmer sheets, and then it's bordered with the silver border dazzles. Right. Silver jewel border dazzles.
Absolutely stunning.
Yes.
Okay, but we're not done yet. Speaking of stunning, look at this. Wow.
Yeah. So this is done with the gemstone sampler pack.
Right.
Every piece here, even the one back here that's been embossed.
Right. And we have to talk about that. But first, we'll talk about the stamp set that we actually have. The fresh cut stamp is what was used. And when Lene did this, she stamped them and then she used the heat gun.
Then she cut them out and used the heat gun, and I can show you just a little bit. I want to show you that it's very easy to stamp on it. So I've got one of the fresh cut stamps. I've got the fire, this is the fire opal, but there's also a piece of the fire opal in the Gemstones sampler pack. So using StazOn, you have to use something like StazOn or Surfaces, but they're pretty simple to stamp on. So that was what she did. But what I'm going to remind you of is that when you set them on there, you kind of don't want to wiggle it around much because they're a little bit slippery. And that...
So just press straight.
Yeah, just straight down. And see, it's perfect.
Okay.
It stamps very nicely. And then she cut it out. This is a different stamp, but it's from the same stamp set. She cut them out. And then you're going to do the magic part where you get your heat gun.
Now, do you have tweezers or anything to hold that?
I do. Yeah.
That would make me feel better.
I'm pretty careful, but it's a good idea to use tweezers to keep the heat away from you. And just start heating. Like we said, if you're not careful, it'll warp. Well, that's kind of what we want to do in this case. You just want to warp the edges a little bit. And what I found is if you get it warm, even before it starts like bubbling up on its own, you get it warm, and then you can sort of, really, I can touch this with my fingers, it's not that hot, and you can start curling them up on your own a little bit.
But if you did it more with the heat gun, you're going to do it, huh?
Yeah.
Now this time you're very close to it.
Yeah. See what happens there.
I see the petals lifting and curling.
Lifting up. I found that
people can't see it.
I found that I kind of liked moving it myself, but you can just do it like that. It'll warp the edges.
Wow.
And then you can sort of shape them. And if you want, you can put it on the back too, and that'll sort of give you a little control. But I
liked how to see them lift and curl. So let me scoot this in, and we can get in nice and close to it. And wow, they just have such dimension. And we've had these sitting in a sheet protector, and it's not.
Right.
You know,
it's not gonna.
smooshing
you can
them.
ship it, but it'll pop right back up.
Yeah.
I also like that she used stickles in the center, and she piled it on pretty thick, but it also sort of takes on the iridescence of the shimmer sheets behind it.
And the thing that you have to be careful with the what is it?
Stickles.
Stickles, okay, is not to touch it, because I have a tendency to touch it. Is it dry yet?
Right. We have to leave little notes on our projects that says, Paulette, don't touch.
That's exactly right. The other thing, look at what's happening with the leaves. They too are curling.
Isn't that beautiful?
And it's just adds such dimension to it. It is just, so now you know if you're going to heat emboss and you want it to stay flat, what to do. And then if you want to get the dimension, it is so easy to do.
Right.
Now, the
little explanation.
Yes. Lene, in her eagerness to use brand new things, used the woven lattice. It will be out the end of the month. So it is a beautiful embossing folder.
But you could use one of the other embossing folders, like the flowered corners.
Or any of the backgrounds. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that will work beautifully. But this is just spectacular. On the inside, she kept just one flower, one leaf, and did a love dazzle
just
right
beautiful.
there. It's just striking. So that's what I am so excited about this product, is that there are so many things you can do, but we're not done. We are not done. Scrapbookers, this is for you too. And look at this page, and I want to lift it up so you can see. We're going to get in closer. Look at the butterflies.
Isn't that beautiful? So the dazzles were placed directly onto the shimmer sheets. And this is the Fire Opal Gemstone Shimmer Sheet. It's from one of the individual packs. It's got 3 in each sheet. And these are the 12-inch long pieces.
Right. And this is the Enchanted Moments dazzles. These are scrapbooking.
Right. So these long borders were placed right on one long strip of the shimmer sheet.
What I love is, look, what an amazing look that is. And it's just placing a dazzle on a sheet of the shimmer.
Whenever
Just
you're looking
easy.
at this, you have to keep going like that. 'Cause it's like a mirror image. It's just beautiful.
Look at that.
But there is something else really interesting going on these pieces. They were used to back different dazzles, different parts of dazzles, but especially, I love that one.
I do too, isn't that pretty?
But especially on some of the larger ones, you can see, I don't know if you can tell or not.
I think you can. There's silver right there
Right.
instead of the color.
Right.
So what gives with that?
Around here we have the fire opal color, and then right in the center there's silver. And I can show you. Here's a completely different piece that I have here of the Shimmer Sheets. This is from the turquoise, but it is the gemstone. And on all the gemstones, we know there is a silver core. So here you're seeing in this portion, it's all silver.
So how did that happen?
That happened with a Spectrum Noir.
I'll be the straight man.
The colorless blender pen. So the blender pen, which you're using to blend all your colors together on Spectrum Noir, is actually used here to remove color.
That's amazing. I would not have thought of that.
Well, it's because it's alcohol. Alcohol, and I found this out when we were using the rubbing alcohol, it actually removes the color from it if you keep working it, overworking it.
Which is normally something you don't want to have happen.
So Amy started this one by moving around and removing the color from here. I'm going to start on one of the leaves here. You just start wiggling it back and forth, and it does remove the color.
Now, is that color going onto the blender pen?
It's going onto the pen, so I usually keep a scrap piece of
Okay.
paper handy to keep wiping it off, and it does, it wipes off, but you can see that it just removes the color.
So you can really do some spot color,
Right.
which kind of really enhances the Shimmer Sheets because it's such a nice contrast.
Sure, it will. It
So
adds this
either
little
silver
detail.
or white.
Either silver or white. Yeah, there's white core, and there's, it'll work on either one.
Seems like it would show up more on the gemstones with the darker colors.
I think so.
But so that's what's been done on the butterflies. The bird cage simply has the Shimmer Sheet. Oh, but no, the top of it and the bottom were removed
Silver
with the
was
blender
removed,
pen.
even along the borders. Even along the
Yes.
borders down here, there's a little bit silver on all the little details.
Wow. Okay. So
That's a really easy technique to use with it too.
So here's the deal. You can do dazzles with it. You can remove color if you want. You can do multiple colors and layer them.
You can sand them.
You can sand them.
You can
ink
use
them.
refill inks on them.
And you can heat them or not.
And there's a lot more ways of using them. Look it up and find out some different ways to use them. We've just barely scratched the surface.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll be back with more ideas.
Okay.